Other man, trauma.
People are probably seeing this right now, like, what is that? We're sharing our experiences in the military. I was a corpsman, and Joe was a FTB, right?
Fire control
Yep,
technician,
yep.
stickness.
And he was showing me his trauma shears because I'm very familiar with those. I actually have several sets here in the house from my days.
I'm putting together my bug out bag. So
Exactly. That's what I have too. I got my bug out bag. For people who don't know what a bug out bag is, that is when the shit hits the fan. You've got your stuff, your immediate things that you need to survive is all ready to go, so you can grab it and head out the door.
that's right.
Oh, so hey, welcome everyone to the stream. I am Ollie, and this is the Residents of Evil. And today we have Joe Whyte joining us. Joe is Chris Redfield and Richard Aiken in
That's
the Resident Evil 1 remake. So welcome, and just want to introduce yourself. Say hi.
Richard Hernia Aiken.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Richard.
hi everybody. Happy Saturday. It's absolute pleasure to be here with Ollie today.
We've been trying to get this going for like the last month and a half here. We finally got it together.
Been a while, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great way to cap off our anniversary week here with
Right.
the 25th anniversary,
I believe 25 years. 25
5 years. We were last Saturday we had on for Women's History Month, and to kind of start the week off for the anniversary week, even though it was a couple days early, we had to cast the ladies from Resident Evil 7, which were so much fun to hang out with. And then for the anniversary day, we didn't really have plans until like the last minute. But Nick, Nick Apostolides, Leon from the remake 2,
He's great.
and he's awesome. He's so active in the community. They all are, which is really really amazing and fun
Yeah.
to see. Me and him had been going back and forth about ideas, so we just kind of worked out the last second. We had Stephanie, Claire, and Jolene, Ada join us and did a quick, Resident Evil 1 stream, old classic. And this is cap it off this week with Joe with the remake.
We're sitting around in our living rooms here.
Yep.
You in your fabulous Resident Evil
The
mansion, and
mansion.
me in the Simpsons living room.
One of the most iconic living rooms in all of television history, media history, I think.
Got I've got my Earl Grey hot.
We
Cheers.
we talked about that a second ago. How you, the fact that I've never drank Earl Grey tea and that I probably should.
Really should.
Um,
It should. It'll change your life.
it's completely life changing. But you were talking about how you voiced one of Patrick Stewart characters from Jimmy Neutron.
For Jimmy Neutron, what was the name of the game? It was Jimmy Neutron's something or other. Hold on a second, I'll get it. Because I have imdb.com.
You do a lot of video games too, though. I've noticed just looking over your career and stuff that you've got a good even mix of all these different mediums, but you have a lot of focus in video games.
I've been extremely lucky. Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius 2002. I did the voice of King Goobot, which is voiced by Patrick Stewart in the TV show.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
People could say they doubled the voice for Patrick Stewart.
Stewart, yes. It's funny. I can kind of get to Patrick Stewart a little bit, but I have to listen to him first and kind of work my way into him. His voice is actually very deep and back in the back of the throat. It's something you have to warm up into. But
yeah, that's so interesting as a voice actor, being able to identify those different features of somebody's voice to be able to emulate what they're doing is something that's really kind of just made me wonder this whole time, like, how do you pick up on those things as an actor to be able to, like I said, emulate someone like Sir Patrick Stewart?
it's you listen to what their sounds are, how they sound, and then you try to find the place in your throat to make that sound occur. Sometimes you can't do it. I mean, there are just voices that you cannot do
Right.
because your throat is not the right shape, or your vocal cords are too loose or too tight or whatever. You can't get there.
Right, right.
But for the most part, once you can identify what part of your throat makes particular tones and sounds, and it's like playing an instrument, as a guitar player, you're going to find out where on the neck, if I play an A in this position, it's going to give me this kind of a complexion of that sound. If I play it up the neck, if I play an inversion of that chord, it's going to give me a different tone, a whole different feeling. It's the same thing in your throat. You know, your vocal cords are just two rubber bands slapping against each other, and as you pull them tighter, the tone goes higher, and as you loosen them, it goes lower. So you can work those muscles. It's like any other muscle in your body. You can do exercises to increase your range. It's like right now, I get auditions for a lot of really low voices. My voice is not naturally low. I'm a tenor. I actually
Right.
sing like Irish, way up here in the attic.
Right.
But I get a lot of low voices because I can, when I'm working out, and I'm talking about my vocal cords, when I'm doing my daily vocal exercises, I can get really low because I've, allowed the muscles to work into that shape.
Right. You've conditioned them.
Right, exactly. And anyone can do it. It's not a secret. It's not magic. If you started doing vocal exercises tomorrow and did them for a month or two, you'd really see a noticeable difference in your range. And I think a lot of voiceover people don't take advantage of the fact that they have this instrument that has many more octaves and many more shapes and contours than they have at their immediate disposal. If you work it, your toolbox expands like really fast.
Huh.
You'll see a difference after a week of doing. If you do vocal exercises every day, at the end of 1 week, you'll see a big difference in your voice.
What kind of vocal exercises are you talking about? Is there a resource that future or
Absolutely.
aspiring artists want to join? They can get in and practice, where they can find some references, or
Absolutely. One thing that I do is I sing scales,
okay.
and I'm also a singer, so I would sing scales anyway. But I sing scales with particular focus on developing my lower end.
Mm-hmm.
My upper end is great. I have a very good falsetto, and I'll always have, but I have to sing scales to get my voice lower. Um, and I have an app actually I'll recommend called Sing Friend,
Oh, okay.
and I can show it to you right here. It's an app that allows you, see if I can get this to show up with my
Oh
crazy
no. Maybe, yeah, right there.
right there.
So it'll recognize your tone that you're putting out, and it'll help you match it.
So no, what this does, I'll play it for you. So this is right now is set to a 5-tone scale
Okay.
in the tenor range. It has all these different scales and different ranges that you can pick, and then it's got a speed. So when I play this, oh, got my volume down. And I'll do that, go all the way through the entire range, right?
Mm-hmm.
On all of the vowels. So you do E first, but you have to pay close attention to how you're forming the E in your throat. And then I'll do A, and then I'll do ooh, and then ah, go through all of those, and then do it the other way.
Oh,
So going down the scale
right.
until I just can't get any lower. It's really trying to force those muscles to get lower.
Right. And then over time, you're, like I said, it's just like working out any other muscle. You're conditioning it, and it improves, becomes easier to manage and to tap into.
Doing scales is like doing push-ups.
Okay, a good way to
Yeah,
put it. Let me
you know,
recognize the ultimate Daniel dropped in a super chat like as soon as we started the stream. He said, I fell asleep last night before I can donate. I know it's not required, but this channel is great. $20. Thank you so much, Ultimate Daniel. Like I said, it's never required, but we definitely appreciate it. We put it to projects that we have come up, like example like ROCON last year. Other big things that we have going as well. So it's always appreciated. And thank you for everyone who's been saying hi. Welcome. If you guys have questions in the chat, just pop them out there. I'll be looking for them. If you do a super chat, I'll be able to identify it easier, but that's not necessary. I will keep an eye out. I'll try and get as many as possible.
that's awesome.
So Talking about other voices as well, one that really caught my attention, Mr. Krabs and
Oh,
Mermaid Man, two of my favorite anime characters ever in history.
yeah, yeah. It's boy, what a story there. I booked those. Um, I have a this is a touchy subject with me because I any other professional actor performer would probably say that I'm nuts and that I should never denigrate myself or say that I think I did a bad job. But I don't think that I served the legacy of Mr. Krabs very well. Uh, Clancy Brown, one of my
Yes.
idols. If I ever meet him, I'm going to be so embarrassed because my Mr. Krabs is really, it's 0.01% of what his Mr. Krabs was. And I know that, but I booked the gig. He wouldn't come in for the games for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why, if it was the money or he didn't have time, or I don't know what it was. But they couldn't get him into the game, so they looked for a voice match,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty good at voice matching stuff. And I got the gig. I got hired, and I went in and I did a couple of different SpongeBob games as Mr. Krabs, and then as an ancillary thing, they wanted me to try to do Mermaid Man as well. Which, I mean, Ernest Borgnine, such an iconic voice,
Mhm.
very difficult to do any kind of real justice to. But I did the best that I could. And so I'm willing to make fun of the fact that my Mr. Krabs is not that spot on. I've done a couple of streams with people um, where we just had fun with it, and I do my bad, me bad Mr. Krabs voice. You're trying to steal me money.
Not that bad.
Well, I have to warm up into him
Right,
too.
right.
So raspy, and
Yeah.
it makes me want to cough. Um, but So yeah, I got the opportunity to do that. I'm proud that I got to do it. I'm not that proud of my performance. I wish that I could either go back and redo it, or go back and not take the gig and have someone who did a better impersonation.
But
It's,
you, from what I see, you've done multiple video games as Mr. Crab and Mermaid
yeah,
Man.
I know that's the crazy part, is they actually brought me back.
I mean, you may not have the fondest impression of it, but apparently it definitely worked. But like you
Well,
said, I mean, Clancy Brown is Mr. Krabs. The animated series is one of those characters that's memorable forever. Just and his performance again is one of those guys like Sir Patrick Stewart. When I was telling you before that I wouldn't expect to be in a voice acting like that until you start looking into these characters and you start realizing, wow, some of my favorite actors from other franchises are voicing characters in animated shows that I watched or that my son watched, which is pretty awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, that wasn't the case 30, 40 years ago. You didn't have a lot of celebrities doing animation.
yeah, there was definitely a divide between the industry, the different aspects of the industry. Actors that were on screen, on film, TV didn't really cross over into animation unless it was something major project. And I think maybe
Right.
the '90s was that transition point.
Right. I think Lion King
Well, yeah,
certainly.
exactly. I was thinking Lion King. Just the cast on that one alone was incredible, and then
Yeah.
Disney was a big pusher in that to bring on these high caliber on screen film actors to the animated side, which is a nice
And,
transition.
and that was the period of time that I was at Disney. I was at Disney from 94. Really. I started at Buena Vista Home Video as a clerk. Um, and then 2010 was when I got laid off after Tangled. They laid off a bunch of modelers, and I unfortunately was one of the ones that got laid off. But I was there that whole time, and that's how I got into voiceover. I
Right.
think I've told you this before. It was it was doing scratch dialogue for all of those movies.
Yeah,
But
I
I know
was
exactly what you're talking about. I saw that. I saw all the celebrities coming in and starting to do voiceover. It became a more viable, more prestigious
right, right.
for them to do.
Um,
You know,
I think it elevated it beyond people's impressions of, well, those are just cartoons, and people started taking animation as a more legitimate source of storytelling. Just like games have become to that point now, where you're seeing actors cross over to games.
Absolutely, and that's how great is that? You got Keanu Reeves doing.
Yeah, just him alone but I feel like he's the kind of guy that would probably do it regardless,
I think he
because he
would.
likes those things. He likes getting into these interesting stories and these
Yeah,
interesting characters. But like, is it Chris Judge that voiced Kratos? I'm forgetting who the most recent actor was that voiced him. A phenomenal performance. I just can't recall the name. I just remember he was in Stargate for a long time too. But he had mentioned about not wanting to do a video game because he didn't know, like, which is weird because he's done all these different, what I call geek fandom shows, like Stargate, and he's done video games in the past. But it was so weird that he didn't want to take on the role of something like Kratos. But after he did, he realized how important that character was and how the storytelling had evolved so much to what we see now.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's you know, when I did the voice of Chris Redfield in the
Mm-hmm.
remake, I had no I didn't know what it was. I you know, had no idea certainly that 24, 23 years later I'd be talking about it, that anybody would ever care, still. But it's, the Resident Evil franchise has grown. Of course, it didn't exist back then, but it's continued to grow and become this thing that is integral to people's lives.
Really? Yeah, 25 years.
People have spent, a lot of their youth identifying with these characters and playing these games, and um, I think in some ways it's a more visceral art form than television or movies because you actually participate in the story,
Right.
as playing the characters.
Very true. I did see a one question said
Oh,
Damnest said I can't pronounce your name, but I see your question. What's your favorite drink? That's what they want to know.
drink, in terms of alcohol or in terms of
In general, alcohol first.
well, I'll tell you a little secret. I stopped drinking on New Year's of this year.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
But well, I don't know that it's forever. It's not. I wasn't actually having a problem with it. I just thought that I was, during the pandemic, I was drinking a lot, at home,
Right.
and
Just
it just
nothing to
became
do.
like, wait a minute, yeah, this is not right, and I got
Yeah.
to cut back on this. So I stopped, first of the year. However, that being said, I'm a big, single malt Scotch guy. I
Okay.
love, Bruichladdich. I love Bunnahabhain. There are, Strathila's another good one. There's a bunch of really good single malt scotches that I love. I also like, um, Irish whiskeys. Proper 12 is
Yeah,
one of
Proper 12, which I've been trying to get. Right now, I have a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue Label from
oh,
my birthday. That's almost gone. Everybody
yeah.
drank it but me so far.
Oh, shoot. That's $250 a bottle,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. It was a birthday gift for the not just me but for everyone. Someone bought
Oh,
it and said,
okay.
"Hey, I'm getting this for you, but it's for all of us." I was okay.
Right.
So I have about a quarter left for me now.
Try it soon. And
Yeah,
that's spectacular stuff.
yeah,
A friend of mine, used to run the foundation room at the House of Blues on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. And whenever I would go visit him there, he would give me an entire tumbler full of
oof.
Walker Blue.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's expensive, but it's worth it. If you ever have like, if you want a very premium, go for
Oh,
that.
it's just, that stuff is, you're sitting around a campfire,
Hmm.
and it's, just brings that whole experience to you.
Yeah,
It's really good if you're smoking a pipe too. I don't
yeah.
know if you.
It's got a very smoky flavor to after flavor as let it sink in. Also, I've got some Chivas Regal, which has been
Okay, oh, that's
very
very
good. I've been enjoying that one a lot. It's actually really good for the price. It's really good.
yeah. I do. Uh, if I'm getting a drink, if I'm going out to a
Hmm.
bar someplace, I'm either getting an old fashioned
Hmm.
or I'm getting a martini, a vodka martini up 2 olives,
Okay.
and usually with Kettle One vodka. I like Grey Goose very much too. Uh, uh, but in terms of soda or pop, depending on what part of the
Yeah,
country,
where you live in the country. or
Uh,
Coke if you're from the South. Everything's just Coke in
exactly.
here.
Yeah, it's like everything's just generic Coke.
Mhm.
Cactus Cooler is my favorite.
Cooler. I've never heard of Cactus Cooler.
Oh, not really? Oh, it's so good. It's like it's orange pineapple soda.
Oh wow, that sounds good because I like
Yeah,
both of those by their own. So
it's fantastic stuff.
I see a comment here from Chris Redfield,
Okay.
to
Hey.
Chris Redfield. And I just noticed he said, "Can you please be kind enough to say to Joe, he's my hero, had a huge
Oh,
impact on my life." He's like, "I know you don't read the fan comments, but it would be nice." So I did want to point that out. I do read the comments. I just have to, delineate which ones come through because there's a lot. So, but definitely,
oh, that's
nice
fantastic.
message there.
Thank you
Uh,
very
Watcher 7180, $2 super chat. This guy voiced Chris. Yes, he did in the Resident Evil remake. Chris and Richard.
That's right.
Poor Richard. Just can't seem to catch a break. It was either the snake, and then in the remake, it's the snake or Neptune. So big
And
animals.
he's so strained. Richard is basically. They said, when I was in the booth, they said we got this other character that we'd like you to do the voice for, as well. Can you just change your voice a little bit? So I just kind of tightened him up a little bit. Big snake, Chris, watch out for this. Oh, and there's a shark. Chris, watch out. So that's
Yeah,
Richard.
just
It's
dying from big animals.
with a hernia.
Yeah, with the hernia. So I guess let's circle to the Resident Evil part of it. So you weren't really too familiar with it before you got the part, right?
No, I'd never heard of it.
And it hadn't been out too long. I mean, which was so interesting back then that remake came out so close to the original. It was only a few years difference, and they're not very long, as into like nowadays where remakes can take decades,
Yeah, right.
um, or at least half a decade for Resident Evil 2 remakes. Since we heard about them remaking it, not from when they actually made the game back in '98.
Well, to be fair, though, you had to wait for the technology to catch up
This is true, yeah.
to justify a remake because they look so much better now than they did back then.
Yeah, that was such a huge leap from the original to the remake one. It was like the same
Quantum,
game, but so vastly different and beautiful. The remake one is still, I think, revered as one of the best remakes of all time of any game, in my opinion. But definitely for the Resident Evil series, if not
right,
the essential go-to experience, because it still captured the fixed angles. It captured the atmosphere. The mansion was well recreated with a little bit extra. I mean, it's just a masterpiece and a remake right there.
yeah, it really is. Really is. I'm pretty honored to have been a part of it. At the time, and I've told this story a number of times before, but I was at Sound Deluxe, which was the studio where they were recording the sound, just visiting my wife,
Huh.
who was the office manager there.
Hmm.
And I was doing voiceover at the time, but I was just kind of starting out. And I was there visiting, and the casting person, Carol Rougier, who I would love to get on these podcasts at some point.
Yeah, I would love to talk with her. Her
Yeah,
history and just in the business and the industry and the games, it would be awesome to sit and talk with her. So that's something I'd like to work out.
absolutely. Yeah, and I would love to go on it with her so
Yeah.
we can tap into her memories of that recording session. She really was the director.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
there were a couple of guys from Capcom, a couple of Japanese guys, and she was in the booth with them, and their English wasn't very good, and so she would relay to me in the booth uh, what they wanted. So it was kind of like I went through Carol to the director and then back and forth like this.
Hmm.
And she's just a very cool person. So it'd be nice. She would have some. She's actually a very accomplished voiceover actress in her own right. So it'd be great to have her on the
Yeah,
show.
definitely.
um, what was my point?
You went in to see your wife,
Oh, right.
and that's
So
yeah.
and yeah, they were casting this thing, and Carol said, "Hey, would you like to try voice matching the original guy?"
Hmm.
And they had some sound clips, and they played them, and I voice matched them, and they said, "Yeah, you're spot on. Do you want to do this part?" And I said, "Well, what is it?" And they said, "It's a video game. It's a survival horror thing." And I was like, "Yeah, great. That sounds fantastic." Had no idea what it was, or that it would become as iconic as it has.
Right.
Nobody knew that at the time because it
Yeah,
was
it
the
was.
first game.
Yeah, it was still a new series that was just taking off. And 25 years later, yeah, we see it, but back then it was still, it was still relatively new to a lot of fans. So.
Right. No idea that it would last.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's how it happened. And then I just jumped in. I think I probably went back a few days later and did the recording sessions. We did. I think if I'm remembering this correctly, it was a total of 4 hour voiceover sessions to
Right.
do the entire game, and then we had one extra day of ancillary stuff. Like screams and uh, punch sounds and falling sounds. And when we did Plant 42, um, the plant that throws Chris around the
Right.
room, they actually had video of that up because it had already been animated. Um, I had to match my movements to Chris being thrown around on the video.
Right.
When the plant dropped him, I had to go, ugh, that kind of stuff. It was very fun.
At least they had video for you to go off of.
Right. Normally they don't do that because they're going to animate to your voice. It's the
Right.
animation will be done later, but the animation was already done because they had it from the previous game. They had just updated it. So I had to match all those movements and
Yeah. And
create the
now you have the full performance capture, so they're doing it all in the volume, and maybe they go back for ADR afterwards to match up some of the dialogue, or give some of those exertions and a better capture for the audio. But yeah, back
right,
then you were either going off of the direction, going off the paper, or like in your situation for Plant 42, you could see the scene.
watching it, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, Mr. BW covers $5 super chat says Joe seems like a cool dude.
Ah,
I have to agree. Carmen Rose wants to know: have you played any of the other games besides Remake, or have you really looked into them?
I've played most of them, uh, um, but I haven't played 2 or 3 the originals. I've only played the remakes
Hmm.
on those, and I really enjoy those. I really enjoyed playing 7. Looking forward to 8. We
Yes.
just on Crimson Head Elder podcast. We just did a whole thing on talking about RE8 coming out and what we all think that's going to be.
Yeah, I saw that. Just a brief highlight. I saw that you had gone up with some on Twitter. I think you had mentioned something about it, and
Yeah,
then you went on the show and you guys discussed it. But yeah, if
yeah,
you guys don't listen to Crimson Head is another Resident Evil content channel that they make some awesome podcasts as well. Joe's been on there quite a bit. They've also brought on some of the great actors from this series and had some really fun discussions, which is something cool that they do, as well as they have you guys sometimes reprise your roles and read some of the literature you find in the game, but is not voiced. So that's pretty nice little aspect of what they offer over there.
yeah. It's kind of fun. They're really neat people to hang out with too. I really like them.
Yeah. Oh, we've got a great community of content creators. There's so much variety. I know we kind of cross over with some of the things we do, and we share content and things like that. But each different aspect has their own offerings of what they do, whether it's just gameplay, speed runs, just opinion, channels, which everybody's entitled to their opinion. um, and then, or like us, podcast, or just in general. So a lot of good stuff out there.
Stunning.
Color, yeah. Color, I think I said that right. $199 super chat says, get Patricia Jolie from RE5 in an interview. I'd love to have Patricia on. She's just kind of difficult to get a hold of sometimes. So it's not like I don't want people to come on. I want everyone to come on because I love hanging out with people, especially like having Joe on. Um, but it's just a matter of availability and being able to contact them. So, from your experiences of working on the game, was there anything that really stuck with you that you kind of held from that? Like you talking about how Richard had a very strained voice. Was there like a particular aspect of the characters or a scene that has always just been the forefront of your remembering that time period?
Uh, I think probably the strongest idea that has stuck with me over the years has been the the template and the tenor, the feeling, the emotions that I
Mhm.
wanted Chris to feel were different from a lot of video games in that I wanted him to have a real experience. I wanted him to be a normal guy, not a superhero,
Hmm.
not Resident Evil 6 Chris.
Yeah.
He's not going to punch a boulder.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be a real guy that's stuck in a absolutely horrific situation, so that you can experience the fear.
Right.
My feeling is that when a character in a game is too powerful,
Hmm.
or too smart, or you know, what's the point? Would you rather run through the Spencer Mansion uh, uh, invincible, or
Right.
wouldn't
The
that
fear of.
experience entirely? That's why we go to these places. That's why people who love survival horror games go to them. They want to be in a situation where they're in danger. They want to feel that.
Yeah.
So my feeling has always been, put normal people in those situations. Don't put superheroes in those situations.
That's a good point with how the series progressed, and I think that's something it lost along the way, was that everyday person, in a bad situation, a horrible survival horror experience. Um, and you talk about that, and I like that you hit on the fact that Chris before was just a normal guy. Yeah, he was had his military career, he was part of this special unit in the police force, but you can't be prepared to walk into what they went into. That's a nightmare situation. Um, so but his growth throughout the series, then he became that superhero guy, and all the
Right,
characters kind of evolved into that, and it took away the suspense. Which, when we get back to 7, it brought that back. You got Ethan, who was just an everyday guy.
right, right.
Uh,
That's the reasons I liked Seven so much. Is you
yeah,
really feel vulnerable. You got to feel when you're walking down the hallway in one of these haunted or whatever places. You've got to feel vulnerable. You have to feel like at any moment you could be killed.
yeah,
Uh, that's part of the visceral experience of survival horror, and that's what we keep coming. That's the thing that starts your adrenaline
hmm
pumping. That's what we keep coming back for, is that dopamine hit of, oh shit, what was that?
yeah. Quick saves kind of killed that intensity too, because back then you had to manage your saving. You had to hopefully you saved before, you weren't playing for 2 hours and died. Now you got to go back to 2 hours ago.
Yeah,
uh, um, it's
had that
not
happen.
it's not that the other games were bad. They're all great in their own right. They're just different aspects of what we wanted, and then they
Right.
started to become more action oriented instead of the horror, which is what
Yeah,
I always loved about the series. But yeah, it definitely is nice to get that feeling of what's on the other side of this door
yeah.
that's gonna kill me. That's
So,
always a great memory to have. That's why those games I still think resonate with so many people. The originals, like you haven't played the originals, but I recommend if you get a chance, because you do play games, you do appreciate the series. Go back and
absolutely.
play them. We were talking about this the other day on the stream, that I still think they hold up very strong.
Mhm.
Graphically, yeah, they may not be beautiful like we have now, but they still are visually appealing. The amount of
Sure,
work that went into the pre-rendered environments, and the animations, and yeah, the voice acting may not be the highest caliber of all time, but it was a different set of requirements and different directing back then,
absolutely.
and it still is great for what it was. Like, I still really appreciate the work of one of those games, and the acting still sticks with me,
Yeah.
whether it was good or bad. Some of the worst lines have become the most iconic lines, so which is awesome about them. Yeah,
Let's
that would be cool. Maybe that's something we could work out in the future. Have you come on and we'll play one of the original games or something. Just hang out for a little while.
let's do that.
Yeah,
Let's
that'd
do.
be really cool.
I've got my first playthrough. I'm going to play through the remake.
Hmm.
Sonny Bauer is going to set me up with that, and
Yep.
get all my technical issues worked out. And so that's going to be probably within the next 2 weeks, I would
Okay.
say that's going to happen. I'm working on a film right now at Paramount
Hmm.
Animation, and I wrap on this film next Friday. Is my
Okay.
last film. I've been doing pre-visualization modeling,
Okay.
which is what I do in the other half of my life,
Right.
on a film called Under the Boardwalk, um, which will be coming out summer of 2022.
Oh wow, still yeah, a couple years out because you said it's pre-modeling right now, right? So
Yeah, we're just finishing up previs, and Double Negative in London is doing all the animation, so we're sending stuff over to them. And it's going to be a great little film. It's really cute. It's a musical. Um, it's about hermit crabs falling in love under Boardwalk, New Jersey.
I'm already interested. I love hermit crabs. I loved them as a kid.
Kind of like a Romeo and Juliet thing, where there's the sea crabs and the land crabs, and there's a big war between the two of them and all that. One of the sea crabs falls in love with one of the land crabs, and they never be together because they're from different. Yeah,
That
so
would be awesome. Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Michael Cera is playing the lead male.
Yeah,
So,
Michael Cera, another. Uh, I was watching a video the other day about a couple actors that were typecast. Unfortunately, like their big breaks kind of ruined their career because they got locked into this character typecast. And Michael Cera is one of those guys with
yeah,
Superbad. He got into the awkward, goofy, dorky type guy. And then you get to a movie like This Is the End where he broke that whole mold of.
yeah.
If you guys haven't watched Seth Rogen and James Franco and those guys do their
Okay.
series, that movie is awesome because it just is such a big parody of Hollywood and their characters.
And the character that Michael Cera plays in that is absolutely off
Yes,
of this.
genius. Yeah, genius for him. um,
So funny.
yeah, I know a lot of people are mentioning they would like to see the playthrough. So definitely, where's your social media so they can keep up with that for when you announce it?
So my Twitter is Joe Whyte Comedy, at Joe Whyte Comedy, all one word.
Mhm.
White with a Y, Whyte. Instagram, same thing, Joe Whyte Comedy. Um, what else? What else do I have? Um, what else do I have?
Well, those are the major ones, anyways. Instagram and Twitter. That's usually where
I'm,
most people.
I'm never on Instagram.
Mhm.
I just don't have
Yeah,
time in the day to keep up with every social media app in the world.
yeah,
Uh, when you have a life outside of social media.
yeah.
Now, that being said, I'm doing a lot more stand up these days, and so I just started actually a new Instagram, Joe White Comedy.
Okay.
I don't think I actually even have a follower yet. I think I started it a couple
Well,
days ago.
let's go line them up.
Fun,
Go
yeah.
get your follows in.
So, um, but I keep up with Twitter a little bit, and my Facebook account. I have a Facebook account for my voiceover stuff, but not
Mhm.
for my comedy yet. And my personal Facebook, I only give out to people that I know. So
Yeah,
it's um, I don't add strangers on
yeah.
my
Gotta have some privacy in your social media.
my friends and my family. That's
Yeah,
what I get.
that's how mine is. It's very limited to a few pages that make me laugh, and then the rest is people that I'm close to.
Right,
I don't
right,
have. I probably have less than 100 people on Facebook. So,
yeah,
um, so comedy, is that something you've always been attached to, that you've always had a knack for, or is that something you recently
yeah.
taken on?
I've been doing it since high school. When I got into college
Hmm.
after the Navy, I got into improv and did improv. I was in the original cast of Los Angeles Comedy Sports for about 12, 15 years. And then I was one of the founding members of the Impromptones, which was an entirely musical improv group.
Oh
And we
wow,
at the Cinegrill, we actually toured. We did cruise ships. We went all around the world doing that.
wow,
That was a fun show. The Impromptones was couched as three lounge singers and a pianist. And our piano player, Michael Pollock, off the hook, one of the best improv pianists on the planet. Um, and So yeah, I did improv for a long time, and then after the Impromptones kind of blew up in a very unpleasant way, um, hold on just a second. I dropped out. I just didn't want to perform anymore, and I
hmm
took about I took 6 or 7 years off, and then a few years ago, 3, 4 years ago, I decided I wanted to get back on stage. So, but I didn't want to go through the whole process of getting into another improv group and having to
right.
be myself all the way up and, gain the trust of the fellow actors, all that stuff you have to go through when you're
Right.
making it. I didn't want to go through it again. So I thought, well, I'll just do something by myself and I'll do stand up. So I started doing that, started writing material. And I have one of my best friends, a guy named Mark Hoffmeyer, very funny guy. He's an animation writer. And so he and I started going out to comedy clubs and doing open mics together and
Hmm.
bouncing ideas off of each other. And we still do that all the time. We've been doing these Zoom mics during the pandemic, which are horrible. You don't have that,
The feedback.
you don't have the audience feedback. Yeah,
Right.
you don't have that interaction and that level of energy. But it allows you to keep writing material and putting that material out there and seeing what gets laughs and what doesn't. And,
Yeah.
so we'll be ready when the clubs open up again. We'll be
Yeah.
ready to get on stage and do that again.
That's definitely an industry that got hit very hard by the pandemic and quarantine and social distancing, because it's not like theater. Yeah, theater's performed from an audience, but you can still do it without an audience. It's the same thing as acting on film. um, Music, you can perform music from anywhere. You want the audience feedback, but you can perform it from your living room, which a lot of people have done. But comedy is when you need to have that, because you want to make sure your material's landing for one thing, what works and what doesn't, and you feed off of that, I would think.
There's I like to move around the stage. I like to act stuff out.
Right.
If I'm playing a moose, I want to be able to put my hands up. It's
Hopefully we can we'll get a special from you someday. We can see one of your stand-ups, or if you're out there on the West Coast.
on YouTube. On YouTube, I've got my you can look up Joe Whyte comedy on YouTube, and I've got several 5-minute routines on there that I
Well,
did.
perfect. There it is, right there. Then.
It's growing all the time. I'm recording most of the gigs that I do.
Awesome.
It's not
Um,
all good. Some of it's if I'm being honest, some of it's pretty bad. But you got to keep trying. People ask me, young people ask me, how do you get ahead in this business? It's just tenacity. It's not talent, it's not looks, it's not anything but the willingness to show up on a daily basis and keep hammering away at what you want.
yeah. Consistency,
The only
tenacity.
tenacity is the only thing that will get you ahead in the entertainment industry. I'm convinced of it, and I've been
Yeah.
in it my whole life.
Well,
You
it's
know,
like you were talking about, exercising and working out your vocal cords, just like anything else. It's
show
repetition.
up,
Yeah.
show up, do the work, do the exercises, and you will be ready when opportunity
Right.
knocks.
Be flexible. We learned that in the military.
Yeah,
uh,
keep your head on a swivel.
yep.
You're looking for other aspects of what's going on. You also have to develop an awareness of who you are,
Right.
because a big part of selling yourself as an actor is selling the essence of what makes Joe Whyte, or what makes anybody um, a character. If you look at a person like Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Hmm.
he has a very specific essence. There's an Arnoldness about him
Right.
that is instantly understandable as a character type, as an archetype of a character for that man.
Right.
This is why it doesn't work when you try to make him be a kindergarten cop, because it's not who he is. He's
Right.
type. If you can play to your strengths, if you know what your personality is, and not everybody does, because you only see yourself from the inside out. You don't see yourself from the outside, and how your face is presented to the public. I took a class with a guy named Sam Christensen many years ago. He's gone now, but his classes are still taught. And what he taught was an awareness of your essence. He taught your essences. And one of the ways that they did this was they would bring a group of people out to the airport. This is when you could still walk into the airport waiting area
Right.
without all the security.
Right.
And so basically you'd walk into any crowd of people. You could do it in a park or a mall, whatever. And we had a list. We had a piece of paper with 200 or 300 adjectives: smart, funny, romantic, caring, sneaky.
Hmm.
So this list of words, and then we would have one person go and stand across the room like they were just standing there waiting for something,
Hmm.
not whatever. And then the other people would go around to people who were sitting in the group, like in the park or in the waiting area. They would say, "Look at that person standing over there, and tick off on this piece of paper words that you think apply to that person."
Right.
So if it's a person standing there with a business suit and a tie and a briefcase, the words that a person might tick off would be like dependable, success,
Professional, successful.
professional,
Yeah.
all those things, right? So you would do that thousands of times. You could do it. Of course, the more data you have,
Right.
the more accurate your responses are. And what you come to learn from that is that an extremely valuable thing to know about yourself as an actor is, how do I come off to the world?
Right.
What's the first thought someone has when they see me? You learn all these things by going through this, and then you're able to, you know that you're not going to go for that particular character because it doesn't fit your essence.
Right. Right. It
Learn what
helps you
your
find your niche within the industry.
helps you
Uh,
find your niche. It helps you find your niche in public, in
right. And just
all
life.
over.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can
You,
embrace who you are, your essence.
bingo, right? And when you play to your essences, it's powerful, and you're more likely to succeed, because people will buy you at that as that thing.
Right. You're not coming off as pretending or fake. I've heard about that method. When I was doing research in our early days of the podcast, and my interest in joining the voice acting and getting into projects was go to people you know and give them a list of words and have them just like pick off, okay, which ones do you think apply to me? And then go
Uh-huh.
to people you don't know and get their impression as well. Or someone you just met, maybe talk to for an hour to 2 hours. And then you could kind of narrow down who you are. And it's a form of self-discovery as well, not only as a career, but like you said, you can embrace who your person is and become more instead of trying to be something you're not.
When you understand that as soon as you walk into a room, if your essence is tough guy, you know that as soon as you walk into it, like an audition, as soon
Hmm.
as you walk into that room, people are going to look at you and go, "Oh, tough guy,"
Right.
regardless of what you're doing,
Right.
because that's your essence. When you know that, you can say, "Okay, I'm going to use that when I walk into this room. I'm going to play tough guy.
Right.
I know what I'm auditioning for, and I know that I'm right for it. And here's the essence that they're looking for. I'm not going to overplay it, but I'm going to let that essence come out." Um, that's just being deeper in touch, more in touch with your emotions and your feelings and who you are as a person. I think that helps in every aspect of life,
Yeah.
not not just for performers, but if you're going on a job interview, I don't care if you're interviewing at Taco Bell. If you know what your essence, if you know all these things and you're prepared to, speak truthfully to the person you're interviewing with, you're going to get the job. It may not
Yeah.
be, it might be at a Taco Bell, but
Yeah.
you're going to get the job.
Yeah,
Is my
you're
point.
genuine, and that speaks a lot. Like my wife, she's a manager for the Panda Express, and she does a lot of the interviews and stuff. And sometimes she'll come back and be like, "Well, I had these interviews today," and she can kind of identify who's getting the job, who's not, just by their presence most of the time. Do you want to be here? Are you showing up and looking like you want to be here? How's your personality interacting? Are you going to be someone I can put in front of a customer? Basically,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's just something way off of from acting, but it's just everyday life type situation.
There's a little bit of acting in there, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, you are selling yourself. Anytime you're acting, you're selling. So
I think of every day of a human life as basically a big improv exercise.
it's
You're
it makes
improvising
sense.
from the time you wake up. You're playing it by ear.
That's true. How
So
many times do we have a plan that never works out, or you know?
exactly, more
uh,
often.
Barry, where's Barry? You may know Barry. He's another Resident Evil content creator out there. Um, he's asking, who did you play on The Simpsons? But you didn't voice anyone on The Simpsons. You just like the background.
No, it's just in the background.
Yeah, it's just a great background. uh,
Come on, this is
uh,
probably the most iconic animated series ever made.
yeah. How many seasons? Are they in the 30s now?
Yeah, some ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. My uncle, I spent a lot of time with my uncle. I didn't really have a dad growing up. I didn't meet him until I was already an adult. So I had an uncle who was paralyzed, and me and him always hung out together. And he, this is back in the VHS days, so he recorded every episode of The Simpsons, and we would
Wow.
just sit there and watch The Simpsons all day, over and over and over. So at least the first probably 10 to 15 seasons, I'm very familiar with. But as an adult, I've gone on and grown into different types of South Park, uh, American Dad,
Family
Family
Guy.
Guy. Yeah, the more adult oriented stuff as I've grown up. So,
Sure. Rick and Morty. I love Rick and Morty.
oh, sorry, that's the wrong Barry. Barry, where's Barry? I was thinking Barry the channel. Sorry. This whole time I've seen Barry here in the chat, and I've always thought you was the other Barry, but now I know you're not. But he says he will be a creator soon enough. So I was
Oh,
like,
that's Chris's first line when they write it.
exactly. Yep. Uh,
Barry. Where's Barry?
someone was asking, Xterra. Let's see. Let me go back to it. Xterra asked if you can do a line as your Chris Redfield about RE5's Chris Redfield punching boulders. Xterra Vendetta asked.
What the hell are you punching boulders for, you jerk?
You jerk. uh, I'm just breezing through here. But I think a lot of people they don't know that you're, like I said, a modeler,
Yeah.
animation modeler. You're a teacher for Cal Arts.
Yep.
Medium, we know that now.
Yes.
Had a long career with Disney, doing modeling and animation with them, as well as voicing characters.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of the auxiliary, voices you hear around the main voices, side characters, things like that. And then a pretty prolific, I guess, career in video game acting as well for voice acting.
For those, and I'm also like yourself. I'm a musician, and
Yeah.
that's a big part of my life. Guitar, piano, of course, the ever present.
Yeah. It's a perfect campfire instrument right there.
I guess it is.
You don't have an acoustic, then yeah,
Best thing
there you
about
go.
it, if you run out of logs, you can use that for a campfire.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just toss it on there. Hopefully, you got backups.
Do is rub two of those together and you get a fire.
It's I like ukulele is a beautiful instrument. I like I have an affinity for beach music and Hawaiian music, and like Izzy or from Hawaii, beautiful rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Oh, sure.
Um,
Gotcha.
it's just such a nice, upbeat, high pitched, but just like bright sound. It's nice to have. Yeah,
You can't be sad with a banjo.
yeah, yeah. Banjo, yeah, too banjo. Unless you're in the West Virginia Appalachian Mountains on a canoe trip, then
Hey,
maybe.
it can be used in hand-to-hand combat up there. But
Yeah, you're not looking to hear any banjo noises at that point. Great movie, by the way, Deliverance, for people who don't know what we're talking about. um, Classic,
like a piggy.
man. I guess we'll go ahead and wind it down here. We've hit about the hour mark. So,
All right.
do you have any closing thoughts for the fans, for everybody who's watching or who is going to listen to the playback for this one?
Gosh, just thanks to everybody for being there, for joining us all on this wonderful journey of experiencing Resident Evil, this thing that we all love so much. And we'll just keep on seeing you guys in the future, as the game evolves and as our community evolves. I'm just looking forward to more of this in the future, and you know, um, uh, whatever I can do to enhance the experience for the community, I'm completely up for and very much into it. I am very appreciative that anybody pays attention to my little voiceover career. I'm humbled extremely by the fact that anybody still cares about this stuff. And yeah, so I just want to be there for all of you. I look forward also to getting back into the Comic Cons and stuff, and I want to get out and meet the community in person as well as doing these podcasts and things. So look forward to that.
Hopefully, someday in the future, we'll have just like Rokon, but on a in-person scale, whether it's through us or through Capcom. Someone has to at least acknowledge the fan base that there's a lot of stuff there that people want. You've got over 20 plus games in this series, 25 years of making these characters, movie series, animated series, remakes coming out. There's just so much that why not, so hopefully if we do our Rokon in person, I would like to, I want to obviously bring in the actors, but I want to bring in artists, vendors, people that make their own stuff, and just make it a huge, like you would expect a Comic-Con experience. And I think that would be pretty awesome just to bring the whole fan base together,
I'm
for a couple days would be awesome. And I love Comic-Con, so it's something I'm very passionate about. Hopefully we can work that out.
Yep.
And definitely I appreciate your thoughts on that. Just wanted to be part of this community for a game that came out almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Is still very popular, and your character is still very well loved, and still a great performance, and a great cast that cements this legacy not only in the Resident Evil franchise but in video game history. So I want to say thank you for your hard work on that, and for wanting to be part of it with us. And your social media, so it's Joe Whyte Comedy with Whyte, WHYTE.
That's right. Yeah.
Twitter, Instagram,
Instagram,
YouTube.
YouTube. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again for your time. Thank you everybody for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to share this with your friends if you got friends want to come check out Joe Whyte and hear his thoughts on the remake, or just see what he's about, who haven't already met him or heard some great things from him. And thank you guys again for your support for everything. We will see you here next time on The Residents of Evil.
Ciao.